when we would work on a project, the best part I would look forward to was the part where I got to edit it, essentially. So I edited pretty much most of the stuff for that class. And even though we all were still editing stuff to get, practice for it, I found myself just like, I wanted to do that the most, and I enjoy doing that.
Learning ins and outs of YouTube, it's probably 10 years in the making for me, but I finally got there. And
yeah, making content for YouTube is really interesting because like it seems like it's really simple, like when you look at it, but when you actually get down to try and make like content that people want to click on, and then like getting it out there, I think that's probably the hardest part, at least for me.
I also signed up for this academy and all about like video ranking academy. I don't know if you heard of like Sean Cannell and Think Media.
Okay, yeah, I've heard of Think Media.
So I'm going through like his course, seeing if I can learn a few things that way too.
Yeah.
But I think I said a little before about me, like when I was going to school, it was more of a news, and right before I came, it was preferred more to as the RT radio TV film, RTF, and then right after I left, it started going back to that. But during my time, it was mainly news, and I was part of news broadcast for the school, and I was brought up on live studio production and not so much on the post-production side. And yeah. I was myself fearing editing for a while. Now, after been doing so much of it, especially on the digital front, I've grown to really like it. Yeah. So like a little bit, yeah, I saw like all those links you sent up, and I noticed some talent from you right away. Come like you can do some things with the video editing for sure, film editing.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
Where does start here? Who are you, and officially what do you do?
So my name is Andrew Passantino. I'm officially, I'd like to classify myself as like an editor, film editor, whether it's any kind of editing, but I also do other stuff like commercial editing and stuff like that. So I'm a senior at Sam Houston, so I'm planning on graduating in 2021. But yeah, but my main thing that I like to do is just editing and putting together clips. I almost see it almost like like a puzzle that needs to be put together. A lot of times I am approached with projects that a lot of times they either don't have a final vision for, or they don't know what they want to do with it. So it's kind of my goal is like, I have a bunch of disjointed footage together and a script, and I've got to try and make the stats match the script and also flow well, because a lot of times people write scripts and don't always see the editing in their head. Like there's a lot of times where directors come up with like, I don't know how this is edited in my head. And I'm like, well, that's interesting because I don't know how you shot it in that way. So like getting clips together and putting it together in that way is kind of what I like to do and try and figure it out, essentially. So it's like I said, the best way I put it is like it's like a big puzzle, pretty much.
Yeah, I always hear that for one, and I'd like to also acknowledge and mention that you probably have a good name for production, being who came before you in the past. Mm-hmm. So sounds Italian? You have Italian heritage or background?
Yeah, I do. Actually.
I could be assuming, but
no, you're just assuming, right? It's an Italian last name. So I don't actually know what part of my like Italian. Like I know my dad did a DNA test one time, and it's actually we're surprisingly less Italian than our last name would lead most people to believe. But we have more French in our DNA. But yeah, it's an Italian last name.
So who do you expect to, or I mean, maybe not so much do it for now, but who do you expect to do this for? Who do you see? Where do you see you going out of college?
So like right now, pretty much like job wise, I don't have anything specifically. Like I don't have like my one dream company to work with, I would say. Like I feel like some people do. I just would like to, realistically, I am probably gonna be working on commercials and projects that companies have. So either I'll get on with the company and work on like social media work or stuff like that, or editing, advertising things. People need freelance jobs, or people are giving up freelance work, essentially being like, I have a small business, please make a commercial for me, because I've done that in the past before, with just a group of people. Like we shoot and then I edited it pretty much. So like realistically, that's what I would do. Now, if this was like my dream, I guess, would technically be to go out there and start working on short films or working on short narrative projects. But a lot of times it seems like narrative projects at the at the start really don't make a lot of money. You have to kind of have a name for yourself, and the biggest way I've seen like to make a name for yourself is to work on a lot of projects and like be like, hey, I can edit this, I can do this for you, and show versatility. I feel like so being able to edit commercial work and show that I can make this look good, but I also have short films under my belt. I think makes it like valuable as to employers. Pretty much, it seems like if you have a wide range of skills that you can do, employers are like, oh, you can do this and this at the same time, so you can end up working on a bunch of stuff.
Part of the reason why I wanted to like start this up 3 years ago, this podcast and connecting film people. My first guess, I think you should totally. I talked to someone else too, is more in the commercial film directing.
Mm-hmm.
If you looked at my previous guest, Jordan Brady, and he's out in LA, and then Adam Taylor, who's actually Houston, Texas, or Texas based. He's from actually the DFW area, but he's been in Houston for a while. Mm-hmm. They're both commercial directors. Probably check them out, and I've listed all their contact info, and that's what I'm here for: connecting the two sides, seeing for who needs what, and just connecting people with others who and moving this industry forward.
Yeah.
What is the... Actually, I won't get into that. So what are you excited about today? I know there's a lot to be discouraged and negative about, like, with everything to happen, but what are you excited about today?
Today, so on a day-to-day basis, I try and keep myself busy with other things. Like I work on some small projects. So like I do like some I do with 3 other guys. We do like these movie reviews where we watch a movie and just essentially review it. So I edit my friend's video because he just is on a laptop and he says it's easier for me to edit it. So I'm excited to edit and get that done with. I really enjoy doing stuff like that. Putting stuff together. Like this one's simple because it's just pretty much just like cutting out the pauses and the ums and ahs and stuff like that, and then the dead space to keep it kind of flowing a bit better, and then making a thumbnail and putting it on YouTube essentially. But it's really enjoyable because at least it keeps me busy with something, because a lot of times I find myself liking to edit, but I don't like the part before editing, like coming up with an actual idea and writing something out or just getting it done. Like my favorite part, I think, at the end of the day is actually editing and putting it together. So having something consistent to work on is something that I really enjoy. It's something that I think keeps me busy with stuff like that, because it's easy to get unproductive. Because for me, I'm a procrastinator, like through and through. So like a lot of it is just like if I don't keep myself busy with a lot of stuff, I'll find myself, if I go for a long break, it's hard to get back into it, I feel like. So I keep myself constantly doing things, just keeps me motivated and keeps me excited about editing and working on media stuff pretty much.
Yeah, I kind of see that same thing for me too. Like a lot of time I won't have stuff, and right now I'm kind of just come up with my own, and they're just short right now, and it's just really, sometimes maybe you just have to do that to just come up with your own short things, just so you can do, like keeping, like they always say, like, start somewhere. Mm-hmm. Like they're like in that course I'm in, they're talking to the beginners of creators who are just with no education, no background, and they're saying just push record, do a little research, like, mm-hmm. and they, when they get into the video ranking stuff, but yeah. they're it's like, just do that research, but there just comes a time where you have to get your points together, push record. If you're not ready, so what? You're going to learn in the process, and that's a lot of time what it's all about.
I mean, you're working on a lot of YouTube stuff right now, right? Like you're trying to get some YouTube content and stuff together. So.
Oh yeah, I currently have 5. I actually generated for myself a long list of just short ideas on, and my thing, and I follow a lot of stuff from like life entrepreneurs, like Lewis Howes and all those influencers and Sean Cannell, like, and they're all about providing value, and that's what I'm trying to do, and just getting myself building that trust on it. If you can build the trust, then all the other stuff will come without little effort needed, like
Yeah.
to as far as a selling point. If you build the trust, the selling comes rather easy.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm out there trying to put out there. When was your passion for film and just being a creator realized?
So it was the whole reason why I did this career choice is actually because I took a class in high school on a whim. So so my senior or my I'm sorry, my senior year was the year I got into the advanced class in film production. So in that class, you had to basically, we had a bi-weekly show that we had to do. So as a group, we would get together, brainstorm, and do skits for it. So there'd be a new segment, there would be some skits, and then some of the skits would also tie in a new segment. So it'd be a skit, and it would go into, proms on whatever, that kind of thing together. So I started working on it, and I got put into the advanced class because she liked the stuff I did for the other class. And I remember the first time I really wanted to actually enjoy editing, because I had we didn't get a specific role. So you would do basically a mix of everything. You do audio, you would direct something, you would act in pretty much everything, and then everyone would have to edit it, and then she would pick the best cut at the end. So the first skit we did was essentially this music video where we were just being like, "We're the Bearcats," and blah blah blah, and I am my name, and then we'd sing our names or whatever at the end of it. So we didn't plan it out very well, and the names didn't actually match up to the song. So the song was off key, and there was a part where this dude had a rap, and the audio sounded all muffled and nasty, and it was just not syncing up properly because it was very just not, it wasn't done very well, I would say. So we all had edited. So I came up with a solution where it was just like, I managed to get the rap to actually sync up well by adjusting the speed of his voice to match the beat of the music. So it ended up turning out pretty well, and she enjoyed that part of it. And I remember thinking, wow, like if I actually think of like creative solutions behind it, I can actually make something work. So then I started just experimenting with different things with that. And then I found myself like, when we would work on a project, the best part I would look forward to was the part where I got to edit it, essentially. So I edited pretty much most of the stuff for that class. And even though we all were still editing stuff to get, practice for it, I found myself just like, I wanted to do that the most, and I enjoy doing that. So I think at that point, that's when I wanted to do like, I want to do this as a career. Like that was the time where I think I spent the most like extracurricular time in classes and in school. And that's when I was like, well, I want to go to college for this. So when I applied to college, I specifically started looking for stuff that was, did they have a film program there? Do they have, or at least any kind of media program there? Because Sam Houston, when they first had it, it was a mass communication with like a film specialty, but you still got other things like news and stuff like that. And when I got to Sam, the first couple years went by where I was just in that program, but then I switched majors to the BFA, which is actually just a film specialty. It's something new that they have. So it's, instead of getting news and media, it's basically geared towards film, more directing, more classes that are just, that require a lot of extracurricular time that you basically are spending doing these projects. Like most of my classes are now completely project heavy, and I enjoy them. I much rather do that than study for a test. I enjoy going out and learning things hands on. So I think pretty much though around senior year is when I enjoyed, when I realized that this is what I wanted to do for a career, and that this is something that I could go to work every day. Cause like, I don't think I could find myself working well in a desk job and just enjoying work. Like if I don't enjoy work, I don't know if I could put I don't enjoy it. Like I don't want to do something every day for something that I don't really enjoy.
Yeah, again, same, and I think a lot of that with all the creatives too. They feel like, well, even when I was just in the news program
Mm-hmm.
that they had, I was involved way more heavily in that. Even it's news production. I was like, I found my step into the directing role, and I directed all the newscasts. We had the daily. It was at the time daily.
Oh man.
I know they changed that whole news program around since then. Since we had a few operation managers since then, but someone who's still there today, and I recently I'd actually just it's been like a year coming, but I visited back. I actually
Yeah.
sat in on the resume class that they had back in February,
Mhm.
and right before everything, and few people still there remember. And trying to get back to where I was, but my point that I was like I wanted to get back to is I the beginning classes when I first started the intro, kind of like you setting the foundation, like they're important. But once I got into the deep, like my grades started going up, I started getting more involvement in the later advanced classes, and I project basis. So I see where definitely where you're going with the project basis.
Yeah.
Now, as far as there's a big thing going around with creators everywhere, and you mentioned you said something about finding working on creating your stuff there. What about the statement, what do you think of the statement of done is better than perfect? Just thoughts.
I completely agree with it. I think a lot of times students and student films find themselves trying to make the perfect film or trying to make something that is going to be like mind blowing, I guess. And a lot of it is just facing the reality of is like it's a harsh statement, but it's like a lot of times no one's going to want to watch your stuff. I mean, a lot of it is like you can put it out there and you should keep pushing it and getting in people's inboxes, getting in people's sub feeds, getting it out there in some way, shape, or form. But a lot of times people just don't care. And a lot of it is just like it's hard to get them to watch it. So like if you try and sit there and make it perfect, you're just going to end up making it worse. You're going to overcorrect in things. You can't get a perfect film ever. You can't get a perfect product ever. Like even a piece of news media, even a piece of like any kind of thing you're working on, it's never going to be perfect. You have to understand that like you can work as hard as you can for it and try and make it as good as possible and look at possible solutions for everything. But there's a point where it's just like, hey, we have something done. If there's technical issues, oh well, it happens. And it's just like
Mm-hmm.
what learning from the things that it feels like if you feel like something went wrong on it, try and learn from that and correct it in the next one. And there's always going to be something like you can correct it and then another issue pops up and then you correct that one, another issue pops up, or the issue isn't a simple fix. It's not always something that's just correctable. Weather is a big thing. Like a lot of times on sets it's just like the weather's not perfect, it doesn't look as great, you can't really control that. That's not a mistake that you can fix, but as long as you get the shot done and it makes sense, I think a lot of times it's much better to have a finished product than something that's just going to be perfect, because you can never be perfect. Like you can only be perfectionist up until a certain point. I feel like a lot of it is just like, I'd much rather get something done and get something finished than just sit in production forever because it's not perfect.
Get the flow down,
Mm.
get find that natural flow. And how do you do your best in finding that flow? How do you like I as an editor, we're always running the risk of, again, you want to edit too much, and how do you best find the natural flow of a story?
So that's the hardest thing I think I find it's knowing is this paced properly? Because a lot of times I try and get other people's perspectives on it. So like, I'll get like friends or even the director sometimes. Like a lot of times the director isn't always sitting right there. So he'll come and watch it and be like, I don't know if this flows right, so we'll fix it or adjust it. A lot of it is just also, watching it over and over again too. I mean, you get a biased view, I think, when you watch it over and over again, because you sit there and edit it for so long that it's hard to remove yourself from the editor position and put yourself into like an audience position after watching it for so long. But it's important. Like I try and watch the scene or even if the whole thing from the beginning and see if I notice the cut. So like if I find myself zoning off and paying attention to just the story or what's going on, usually I think that's a good cut. But if I see a cut and I go, well, that felt jarring, that's usually a bad sign. If I'm removed from the film or from whatever I'm watching and I notice that cut feels weird, that's when I'm like, well, I should fix that and make it so I don't notice it. Because if a cut is noticed, it's usually bad. Like editing is the kind of thing where it's just like, to make it feel good, to do a good job, you want to make sure no one appreciates your work, because it's something that is just it should flow seamlessly. No one should notice editing. Editing is a silent thing. No one should notice it. No one should be like, well, the editing in this is like very good, I guess, because most people, unless you're editors, aren't paying attention to it. So like a lot of times, like like most people who aren't into film that I know aren't being like, wow, that cut was really good. Like no one notices it. So a lot of it is just like I try and make sure it's like not noticeable. I make sure that I'm not paying attention to it as much as possible. And that's why I also think getting other perspectives from friends or people who aren't into film or people who are into film are noticing it or watching it, because a lot of times it's like if they notice it, they'll say that cut felt weird or something like that. If not, if they don't notice it or not paying attention to it, it usually ends up working well.
And but like even with the when we call jump cuts, like there's a time to actually use a jump cut and there's time to not, and the good editors will recognize when to do that the best.
Yeah, I agree on that point, because like it's a lot of it's like there is a level of creativity that you can have with editing too. Like it's not always about hiding it seamlessly, I should say, but a lot of it is just too like even those jump cuts. Usually, when you're watching a movie or something with a jump cut, when they happen purposefully. And while you notice it, then a lot of times it's not like, oh, that's a mistake. You know, you don't. The biggest thing is that you don't want to cut to feel like a mistake, I guess. Like it can go on. You can have a lot of creativities with cuts, and I think also matching continuity is another thing too. Is making sure like if they're moving their arm up in one shot, you want to make sure they're doing kind of the same thing then too, or match cutting or match, or if you're going for more of a stylistic take, you can also completely not match cut it. But if it feels like it's on purpose or feels like it's meant to be there, a lot of times the audience is willing to just understand it and not feel like, well, that was a mistake or something like
that. Couple things as we I'd just like to give a few things to reflect positively on. What are a few things you're grateful for?
I'm grateful for my family. I think they're really, really supportive with this. They really help me out quite a bit. I'm grateful for my girlfriend, Shannon. She's amazing. She helps me out with so much. Like all the time, she gives feedback and stuff like that. Like I feel like she is the best person to talk to, because she'll tell me exactly what's going on. Like if something is not working, she'll absolutely tell me about that. And that's something I absolutely appreciate. She's very supportive, but she's also very much just like, she looks at it from a different perspective. And I feel like I can come to rely on her with a lot of things, especially when it comes to like working with it. Like for all, like everything I work on, she's usually the first person to see the cut, or I'll show her, you know, a cut of it, and then she'll give me feedback on it and see what she says. And her advice and her support is always, you know, really appreciated.
And following off a previous question, kind of going out of order here, but what do you think is harder? I know you said that you like to keep going, but what is harder, getting started or getting going?
I think getting started, honestly. I think that's the first step, is like that blank canvas, I guess, is what I said. Like when I first start a project and there's like nothing on the screen, it's like, oh, what am I going to do? And I get overwhelmed a little bit. So a lot of it is like, I'll procrastinate, I guess, a little bit in some ways. And like, it's just like, it's really hard to start. I feel like it's so hard to go from nothing and make it into something, but it's a really easy at least for me, or easier to go from something and make it into something else. Like working with something and pushing it forward, I find is a lot easier. Like getting started, it's always just, there's so many options, I guess, that I feel overwhelmed in a lot of ways.
It's like I saw from a writer who's staring at a empty Word document, and it's, what do they call it? It's the blinking cursor syndrome.
Yeah.
The blinking cursor is just telling you, well, when are you going to get started here? You have nothing.
Yeah, it's so hard because you can't even look back at your own stuff and be like, well, at least I got this far. You got nothing. It's so hard. I find that's the hardest hurdle to jump over, is to start. But I feel that blinking cursor syndrome. That's fun.
What do you think today's your biggest achievement, or maybe something that you're most proud of in your college career?
I would say Red River, short film I worked on. It's probably my favorite one, or like my favorite achievement necessarily. That was our biggest project we worked on for sure, because there was an action sequence in it. There was practical effects where like blood had to be shot out. Like we had to rig up stuff for it. And then like on that set, I just remember it felt like we were on like an actual movie set. There was probably 50 people on that set, and it was crazy. And the editing, it was such a challenge because I've never edited an action scene before. And there's something that is just like, we had the action scene choreographed pretty well, but there were some inconsistencies with some things that I had to edit around, and it was just a challenge to edit. It was just a simple gunfight where they're firing at each other, but it was just getting it to flow well was really hard because we had so many camera angles to work with that I feel like that was the hardest thing to work with. And it's my biggest achievement because I think we made it work. And I think a lot of it was still, we found, overall, we found a good balance of storytelling and having entertaining action sequence in there and making it flow well in a short film setting. Like it was only 15 minutes, so we had to make those 15 minutes engaging and interesting. And overall, I think that was the one that came together, the hardest challenge that I had to deal with that came together the best.
Cool. Yeah, I that's the one that watching all the stuff. That's the one that did stand out to me the most, and that's it. That was the, in my view, that was very impressive seeing that. Especially I saw the passion right away from that piece. So was that a for one of the courses, or was that on the side outside of school?
That was actually completely for fun. So I collaborate with on that 10 Pillar Productions channel. I collaborate with them pretty frequently. Trey Plemons and Jordan Brown. Jordan Brown typically plays the director role, and Trey Plemons will do cinematography. But they actually joint wrote that one, so they worked together for months writing that. And they approached me about it to edit it for them, and I was like, sure, I'd love to. And I also helped out with audio and stuff on it too. But that was the one thing where they were both really passionate about it. They were very clear, like they both agreed on what they wanted for the movie, and they came together. So like Trey was the one writing it mostly, but Jordan was helping out, and then Jordan was the one who basically took the helm of directing, and Trey took the helm of cinematography. And they both had a vision of what they wanted and shared it and worked together on it. And I think that's the beauty, I think, of film, is like collaborating on something and working with other people and making something that you can be proud of, or something that's, getting out there. You know what I mean? It's just, we didn't make it for a class. They just made it for fun. They were just like, we want to make this. And so we ended up making it. And obviously there's a lot more work that you can't just say, I'm going to make it and make it happen. There's a lot of effort, work that goes into it, and collaborating people and getting stuff in there, getting paperwork all filled out and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, they were passionate about making it happen. And then we made it happen. And that was probably one of my favorite things to edit, because it was clear we were working together like every day. Jordan would come in. We were actually roommates at the time, so it was really easy. We would just come in, start editing for the day, and then we would split off, take a break. I would go edit it on my own, come back, say, do you like this? Do you not like this? And just the collaborative effort I really enjoy. I enjoy working with other people on editing, because I feel like it's a good way to be able to feel like I'm not the one making all the creative decisions. I like being able to work off other people, be like, well, what do you think of this? What do you like about this? And offering different perspectives is what I like, because I find in editing it's very easy to get locked into one specific way of doing things, and I try not to do that. But I think the easiest way to get out of that is to work with other people and get their solutions to things, because a lot of times I feel like it's just it's a problem relationship with editing, because it's like, this is a problem we have, how do we get around fixing this? And it's just basically the solutions is where the creative part comes in. You have a problem, something, how do you deal with it? And it's just working with other people, you have so many different ways of fixing something. It's crazy.
Yeah, and when you have a producer, director, writer, and off when they're the same, it's like collaborating with yourself. Sometimes
Yeah.
2 heads, 3 heads are better than one.
Yeah.
The more heads, the more ideas you can have to make a scene work. For someone that's in high school, like me myself, when I was in high school, just before I get into this question, when I was in high school, I I guess I didn't know it at the time, but I was looking for that. My school didn't have the official and the way that it was outspoken, that video. It was the what you'd call like audiovisual club. I guess you could say I was looking for that, but it was in a way more of like a student assistant. And but like I found my interest in media leading to that, but it started from taking in high school and then one more time in college. It started out in the Lone Star community system. I I took acting. I actually liked acting from someone who was very outspoken. I'm not so much now, being that I started this podcast, so I'm talking to people now. But I liked acting. I only took one class in high school. I took it. I liked it so much in high school. I said, "Well, why don't I do this one more time, college?" But like for someone in high school, give uh, what advice do you have for them if they knew they like something to this if, side of this industry? What should you think they should be looking for in school? Yeah, but what do you think they should be looking for?
So I don't know if there's one specific way to go about doing it necessarily. I think it's just important to maybe look around, maybe find some people that are also interested in doing that too, and see if you can work on something with them. If the school offers, if your school does a weekly show, getting involved with that, talking to maybe whoever runs it, getting involved is the best way. I mean, the reason why I just took it based on a whim, like I don't even remember the exact reason why I took the original class. So it was just like, I have a slot to fill in my schedule. I'll just take this. So getting involved, like some schools are going to have different resources. Some schools are going to have a lot of classes. Some schools aren't going to have much. But if it's something they're interested in too, and your school doesn't have something to offer, maybe find a club or see if it's something nearby has one. Churches is a good way to get involved with it too, because a lot of churches put on media productions and stuff like that. They'll record the services and stuff like that. So if you feel like you're interested in just working on something with media, that's a good way to do it. Or just making something yourself. I mean, YouTube is extremely accessible to everyone. I mean, it's just a platform where you can just click an upload button and upload literally anything right now, pretty much with no limits on whatever you do. So that's a good way to do it. Just find something you're interested in making and just make it. Honestly, just getting started, like not worrying about making something good at the start is important. You can't just go at the beginning. If you're making something and it's like, you feel like this isn't what I want it to turn out, be proud of what you worked on and be like, focus on the things that you didn't do well and how to maybe fix them or, make them better in the future, because everyone starts somewhere and everyone starts off pretty much bad. I mean, I started off terrible when the first stuff I worked on was not good. And it's just a lot of like, well, how do you approach it? Like you can do something that's like, well, this didn't work out good, but instead of just going, well, this is terrible, I'm never going to do it again, go, well, I can work, and this is just stepping stones to the future. There's something that you can always work on. There's ways to always improve. And a lot of times it's early on also just making it for fun too. Like if that's stressful, then just make stuff, just keep making stuff, and eventually you'll get better at it. It's kind of thing where as long as you just keep doing it, you get better.
And maybe like starting a whim like you did, you chose something from a whim. Was that like it had to be like from the heart, like you listen to what you're sometimes on a whim is the best way to do it, because it's that you hear that whisper like,
yeah, it's just kind of like, I mean, it's just, I was like, I have dead space to fill in this class period. I don't know what I want to take. I mean, part of it was too, like, this class is easy, it seems like, or the class seems easy and fun, and that's what I wanted. I was like, well, at least I don't have to stress out about this semester, at least for this class. So I put a thing in there, and it turned out to be a lot more work than I'd expected, but it was absolutely worth it because it was a lot of fun.
and yeah, you're gonna suck in the beginning at it, but like your passion and your drive is gonna determine that you're gonna get better and you're gonna learn some things too.
Yeah.
Do you have like any and related to when you start a new project or a collection of projects, do you have like any rituals or like habits that keeps you focused?
Not really. I mean, I find myself editing pretty much the same way, and a lot of them, I guess, like I use the same program. I kind of I pretty much just start looking at the footage that I want. I read the script, and I'll try and talk to the director and kind of see what they're going for with it. Like I'd like to have usually some idea what they're looking for pacing wise for that first cut. But at the same time, I also kind of like to put surprises in there. Be like, this is kind of what they said they wanted, but I'm going to do something else first because it's the rough cut, so it can be changed anyway. And I'm not, polishing it up. So sometimes I like to be like, well, they said they wanted this, but I think this could work here. So I put this in here. And then obviously it's more of a discussion. If they don't like it, I change it. If not, I do that. But I mean, I don't really have any specific rituals I would do per se. I just kind of think about like, what's the final product going to look like? How do we get there from here? and just looking at takes and stuff like that and finding the best take. Probably takes the most time, and it's the thing that I do kind of ritualistically is just I just look at each take, watch it through, and be like, well, the line delivery was better here, but the shot was better here, I guess. Like looking at the technical and performance side of everything.
How about where do you find your inspiration to do this, or the edit styles, or where do you find your inspiration?
I find inspiration. I like watching like Edgar Wright films because they're very well paced and edited. I feel like a lot of it is just like I like the editing, especially in Scott Pilgrim. I like the comic book effect that they have for it, and it's just very fast paced, very just like get to the point kind of thing, which I like. But I take inspiration from like slower films too. Like I like films like Manchester on the Sea. That's a very sad film, but it's just a film that's going to my head. I also like things like Whiplash, and stuff like that. Like I like narrative films. I like films with very character based, strong narratives and stuff like that. So films that have strong characters, that have a strong narrative, or just in general are engaging and grounded in reality in some degree. I enjoy like I like people dealing with issues and how they approach them and stuff like that. So strong things with like strong characters, I would say, is what I take inspiration from.
Who is one person that you follow their work, or do you that you that you've enjoyed, or as an editor, in the professional sense, who's where I'm looking for, not inspired, but who's an editor maybe you look up to, or
I
their
don't know if I
work?
look up to any specific editors necessarily. I like to look at more style, and I think it's something where I like to watch stuff for editing to get tips and stuff like that, but I don't like to overwatch because I find myself
Mm-hmm.
wanting to just, I guess feel like a flow, I guess. Like I like to just edit stuff and be like, this feels right. You know what I mean? Like I don't take, like, unless there's a problem I specifically don't have any idea how to deal with, like a technical issue or something like that. Typically, most of the time, I'm like, well, this is what's needed for this project, and I focus more on individual projects, take inspiration from that project and the creativity of people that work on that project. It's more just like there's a lot of talent going around, and I think a lot of it is it's even people that aren't who have made it in the industry. Like I feel like even at my school and my classmates, there's so many people there that know what they want to make, or like even if they don't, they have a lot of talent and they have a lot of like artistic ability to do things, and I take inspiration from that. Like I like being in a creative environment with other creative people that are working on something. So I guess I would take inspiration or influence maybe from that and then work from there.
What is going through? What is a project that you've been a part of for for school? Like one of your classes. Do you have
Uh,
class projects?
yeah. So a lot of the projects we do for class are typically smaller scale projects and stuff like that. The ones I remember, one was for an editing class we had to do where we had to take a already shot thing. It was like it was called Stranger at the Door, and they gave all the footage, they shot it, but they didn't edit it, and then everyone in the class had to edit that thing and make their own copy of it. So I decided to go very 1940s black and white. I added like a 4:3 aspect ratio, made it look like it was on film and stuff like that, and then I styled it after like a 40s kind of thing, and then it was just an idea like I want to take a more stylized approach with it, but other people did other things, and some people made it more comedy, some people made it like lean into the scary side of it and stuff like that. So seeing the different approaches of it was interesting, but those class projects I think I remember being interesting. There's another one too where we had to find royalty-free footage online and B-roll and compile it together and make just something. They had no thing other than you just needed to use royalty-free archive
That's
footage.
fun.
So it was really fun getting together and editing that. I really enjoyed that, coming up with something for it. I mean, it wasn't really a narrative necessarily. It's more just an experimental thing, but it was something that I thought it was fun to work with, at least. Like I had no rules, no restrictions, nothing. It was just like, just make something. I was like, okay, I guess I will.
I actually was a part of that first one. Like I feel like we probably had the same instructor professor on that too, but but did so you went out and shot the footage, and you gave your footage to another group in that class as well?
It was pretty similar to that. It was I think it was footage from previous semesters when I did it. So it was
Oh,
just like project that they worked on. And it was also her class that she taught. It was she taught the single cam. Or not, I don't know if it was single. It was whatever it was. It was one class we had you had to shoot a project for, and then that footage you would put it on the server and then you would edit it essentially from it. So you could just pick whatever wanted from any past project. You would edit it again and try and make your own
so,
approach for it.
so they give you options from even previous semesters and years.
Yeah, it was really fun. I enjoyed that. I think editing class was my favorite class I took there because it was really I like the professor quite a bit. I think she gets people thinking outside the box when it comes to editing or creative approach to that kind of thing.
Well, the professor, I think he's still there too. The professor, I was like, I get when you said that she like the professor I had for that, it was the non-linear at the time. It was called non-linear single cam.
I think that's what it's called. Who's the
Yeah,
professor? I think I might know him.
Kasawi.
Oh, okay, yeah, Kasawi. Yeah, he's still there. Yeah, I think he'll be there a lot of time. He does that kind of stuff.
Oh yeah, and he's still he every now and then we reach out. he I'll reach out to him. He reach out to me. So you got a few more things that I can. What? Let's see where. How do I want to start wrapping up here? Let's go. There's some emotions here. Do you have a scariest moment that maybe got you thinking a little bit, like in school or?
Um, I mean, I don't know if I had a scariest moment other than the fact that I I failed Spanish, I guess, one time. I mean, this isn't really related to media, but it was more just like I took a Spanish class and I did not enjoy Spanish, so I failed it and I was like, what am I gonna do? I gotta figure out how to get my grades up and stuff like that. So I would just look at different things for that. That would probably be my scariest moment in school, I guess. But not I don't know. I can't remember any specific scariest moments with stuff I've worked on because um just it was just a lot of like projects and stuff like that, trying to get stuff to work or just being like, I don't know how we're gonna figure this out. Like I can't. I'm trying to think of specific issues we had on it, but I at this point I just remember there's one time on set where like I run boom or run audio quite often, and there was one thing where I wasn't sure how to get audio from it because there was a wide shot and there was just they were talking, but I didn't want to put the boom in the shot, so I was just trying to find a way to filter underneath it. But I don't know if it was a really scary moment, more just troubleshooting stuff like that.
Did you ever find a moment where like you were to be? I know this is also a thing too. Like most people who are behind the scenes, behind the camera,
Mm.
they don't want to be put themselves out there in front. As I found myself growing, like I was that person. I was always behind the scenes, but if someone came to me and said, you go be on camera, you go be director, or I mean, not so I know directors behind the scenes, but go be on camera. I would not turn that down today. I
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't ask for it, but like it's something, and that could be. Did you have anything like that, or
Um,
going
for
in front
for
of the
friend,
camera?
yeah, for friend's project, I did have to be on camera for something. I just played like a side character. It was a web series that they did. And I'm not really great with acting. I mean, I had to take an acting class for my degree, and I was it was very nerve wracking for it. But yeah, I mean, it was fine. It was just simple. I mean, I knew them, so I felt comfortable on set. I mean, it's not like I'm not I don't hate being on camera necessarily, but it's definitely not my favorite thing. Like, I'm not going to volunteer to do it, and it's something that I'm just like. Depending on the
Exactly.
role, if it's a serious role, I'm like, nah. If it's something funny where I can just joke around it, it's a lot more enjoyable. Like just played like a funny character in it. And it was just like for one scene, essentially, just to get the main character to go somewhere else. I don't remember exactly what it was, but I just remember it was that, and it was just funny. So like more comedic roles, stuff like that, I don't mind, or having to be an extra in the background, stuff like that. I don't have any issue like being a character in it. But most of the time, I'm running audio on sets if I'm on a set, so I'm usually required to be behind the camera.
Like on the scale of these projects, was it like a big roll like a lot of lines, or like was is that maybe why it was a little like difficult, or what made it difficult for you? Because I know it's good to like learn in front of the camera, behind the camera. If you're doing the other, it's good to know all aspects of production.
Yeah, I agree. It's important to know what it's like to be in front of the camera, I think too. But for the one I had to actually like be in front of, I just had like 3 lines, so it wasn't anything big. I was just in the character. I was in the scene for a second, and then that was basically it. But the thing I had the most lines was for like acting class. Like I had to memorize monologues and memorize a script. And I find memorizing monologues is easier than memorizing a script, because that one you don't have to worry about what someone else is saying. Monologues just like, oh, I say this line, then I say this line, then I say this line, so it's a lot easier. But I guess it makes it more robotic in some ways. But I'm not really an actor, so I don't know the acting process behind it. It's more just memorize it, regurgitate in a fancy way, I guess. But yeah, it wasn't too much. It wasn't too bad though.
What's a good moment? A happy or maybe a funny moment
I
that
think
you
that
can look back on?
the happiest moment I remember is when we finally finished Red River, and we were like finally done with it. It was a lot of just like we sent it off to another guy for post mixing and stuff like that. But I just remember the point being done with editing for it, and I had been working on it, I felt like, for like a month or two or a couple months by that point. So it was just like a long time of just working on it, and then finally getting it done was a happy moment that I remember. It was enjoyable doing that. The funniest moment I think I remember is we did the short. We were just doing a camera test for something, so we decided to make like something really short. We didn't submit it to anything or anything like that, but it's just something we made for fun. It was just a beer pong skit. So we were just pretending to do beer pong and trying to find creative shots for it. So that was probably it. That was funny to do.
So how going to before I get into some bonus questions here, how come the best way to find you or contact you?
The best way to find me is, I don't really have like a resume website or anything set up right now, but pretty much just on 10 Pillar Productions. I edit basically everything on that channel. I have a my own personal YouTube channel, Amateur Status Cooking, where I cook stuff run through Google Translate. So I just cook stuff badly because I'm also terrible at cooking. So I thought that was a fun side project to do. I just work on school projects for Sam Houston. So like anything, a lot of projects Sam Houston I try and edit or get involved with and stay active, working on that kind of stuff.
And what your favorite platform to hang out on what when it comes to social media? Like where's when someone just say reach out to
Uh,
you there?
yeah, but Facebook's probably the best way to contact me. There, the messenger app. Like if you don't have my phone number, pretty much Facebook's the best way to do it.
Okay, so I definitely want to get all those links for you for your channels and the stuff you work on, any YouTube or any other Vimeos that we didn't. If you have a Vimeo or
Yeah, I don't have a
we
personal
didn't
Vimeo or
mention.
anything like
Okay,
that right now. Just pretty much just the stuff on 10 Pillar and just stuff on. I think it's Broken Spur is one of the channel is another channel I have a short film on. Whatever that is, I think I'll have to double check that. But it's Broken Spur. There's a short film on there I've edited too.
yeah, definitely like to link all that up for everyone to go check out all the great work you do. So what wrapping up now, what do you want to learn from someone who has been doing it for a while, doing video editing, film editing? What do you want
Um,
to learn?
I would want to learn more, just polishing visual effects and stuff like that. I think that's something that's very, very hard. Like animation, I think really ties into visual effects and something that I think I have a lot to improve on and a lot to work with on. So I would absolutely love to, like someone who's been working in the VFX industry for years and stuff like that, being able to learn stuff from them and learning more like learning programs and learning, professional video editing software. Like I have Premiere, but like Avid and stuff like that, like the more like the real professional stuff I think would be cool to learn too.
Why do you think the film industry is important in our world?
I think like everyone needs storytelling. I think, I mean, storytelling has evolved throughout, human history. there's different ways to say story. You go back and it's just people like to tell stories for things. So I think it's interesting, and it gets people away, and getting engaged in a story is important because it's just a lot of like, you can see different perspectives by doing it. A lot of times films can say things and show things to people that you can't do in other mediums. Like you can physically show people things. And I enjoy that. It's just like, it can be used as a medium where you can just make something completely that has no substance to it whatsoever. And it's just something that's just fun to watch. Or you can make something with a lot of substance, a lot of meaning, a lot of nuance, a lot of like subliminal messages maybe, or symbolism and stuff like that. It's a medium that is it's versatile, and there's a lot that it can offer to people, whether it's just for simple entertainment or if you're looking for something deeper. It has something for everyone, I feel like. And it's important that it's just people can be exposed to perspectives, because most of the time when people are watching movies, you're getting different perspectives that you don't get to see. You can live in a fantasy world. You can just see, what it's like to be, some other person. You can just live another person's life almost in some ways. It's cool to get different perspectives on things.
Yeah, if just imagine, like, hypothetically, if all, like, if every single person, the 8 billion people on this world, was suddenly into film and they wanted to create this story, each one of them would have a different spin on it.
Yeah, I know. It's so interesting to think about.
And last thing, like, really, I like to getting people think about down the line future, and maybe getting the creative juices flowing a little bit, getting you think about your story and your life as a story. Hypothetically, it's if it's, just think way in the future, and you're at the perfect age. You're at you're where you want to be.
Mm.
You've done everything you've set out to do with as far as editing, video editing. You've gone places, you've seen things, you've been on all the shoots that you want to be a part of, and it comes down to that final day where everyone's around you. Just a little bit, like, how does that day that you see, hypothetically, of course, how's that day prolong as maybe your last day on this earth?
How do I picture like my last day on this earth after I've done
Like,
everything pretty much?
you've done everything you want to do, and it's you'd be your time to go.
Mm-hmm.
You're way down in the future. Like, how do you see your perfect day?
I don't know. I've never really thought much about what a perfect day would be like. More just like, I'd love to spend time with my family, my girlfriend. Um, I would love to at that point probably just be with them. Uh, watch a movie with them or play video games or just hang out. Pretty much a lot of it is just more like, I guess it's very vague, but I don't know. I've never really pictured what a perfect day is. You know what I mean? Like it's very flexible what it is. Like I don't have a perfect day in mind. More so just activities that I can do and stuff like that. But yeah,
And
just doing
it's
something relaxing, low stress environment, I think would be what it would be like. Anything where it's just like kind of just like a simple, like I guess simple would be the best way to put it. Just like a simple, easy day would probably be the best. Yeah, my perfect day for it.
and if anything, if I just get you thinking a little bit, then I'm successful with that question.
No, it's okay. I'm just trying to think. Like it's just like thinking about it. It's just like I guess simplicity would be the best thing. Like my idea for it would just be like, there's a lot of distractions in life. There's a lot of stress going on. So like at that point, it would be nice just to be like a simple, easygoing day. Would pretty much be what it is.
Well, thanks for getting finding some time to talk today. I love talking to film, and I love talking with pretty much fellow alumni as well.
But yeah, well, thank you for having me on. It was great getting to talk with you. This was really fun. I enjoy getting to mingle with people too that are like who have been to Sam Houston or currently working in the industry or haven't made it in yet. Because I haven't broken through yet either. So it's just interesting talking about different perspectives and seeing what people are doing and the different paths they take. You know what I mean? Like it's an industry where like a lot of colleges, I feel like you have one set path to do something, but this one it's almost creative trying to break in because it's like it's not a necessity job. So not everyone's just dying for the new someone out of campus. So like going in and showing like, oh, I work something, I can do this is interesting, and seeing how people get their name out there, especially in the age of like the internet where there's so many different sites that you can use and ways to get out there. It's interesting talking with people and getting, just getting different ideas or perspectives on what to do.
Oh, yeah, definitely fun, and like to keep going how you going, keep doing it, and you by the looks of what you're doing, especially like the work you do for fun, that's exactly how you do to get started. You just gotta get started. You gotta do it, and
Yeah.
you keep going the way you're starting with that. I see some good things for you.
Well, thank you. Yeah.